Senator Parker, I have some similar questions. The bill, does this bill, I mean, based on the way I read it, applies to every religion. Is that correct?
Look, religious expression, personal religious expression, Senator, applies to anyone of any faith. That's exactly right.
Okay, I'm really glad to hear
that's
that.
That's the fundamental tenet of religious freedom, 100%.
So, just to get clarification, obviously we all know the different faiths that are out there: Christianity, Muslim, Jewish. What about some faith? Would the school district have the capacity to limit someone who came in and said, "Well, I practice Satanism"? Would the school district be able to limit that? Because there is that out there.
Senator, my perspective is, again, religious freedom is religious freedom. And so I'm going to stick to that. And I think that's well-established constitutional law here in this country. And it will continue to be. And clearly, the high court, in my mind, in the Kennedy decision, is supporting personal religious expression, period. And not determining whether or not someone is of one particular faith or another.
Okay. So your bill also states that the right of an employee to engage in religious speech or prayer while on duty. So the question that I have is, what is considered to be religious speech? I mean, do we have examples? Can a teacher give a speech based on their faith if they see two children of the same sex walk in holding hands or something? Can they say, "You're going to go to hell because, you're not supposed to be, same-sex couples aren't supposed to be, that's not allowed"? Is that religious speech? Is that protected?
Senator, what we are doing here, let me just come back to what we're doing here at this piece of legislation. We are simply codifying the Kennedy decision, period. I am not expanding from Kennedy. I'm not contracting from Kennedy. I'm doing nothing but codifying. And so the hypothetical scenario that you just have asked is just that. It is hypothetical. And so we need to stay on strong constitutional grounding. We're not, with all due respect, we're not the judicial body. We're the legislative body. And in my mind, we're taking the law of the land, which is the Kennedy decision, now just for 3 years. I think it's important as well, Senator, when you think through this too, to realize, as I share with Senator Hinojosa, it's only been 3 years since the Kennedy decision. And as a result of that, I mean, we are very early in the life cycle, so to speak, of how future courts, future Supreme Courts will interpret this matter. And the right thing for Texas to do is to stay on firm constitutional ground, codify, and do nothing more. And that's what we're doing here today.
Senator Parker, I appreciate your motives and your motivation and the background behind the bill. I guess the concerns that I share with Senator Hinojosa is how it goes into practice every day out in the thousands of classrooms across the state. And, obviously we come here every other year for 140 days and we go, and then people try to interpret the laws that we pass and figure out my concern is the bill says on duty. So it says here, the second part says they can pray while they're on duty. And you are a well-traveled gentleman. You understand that many faiths have different requirements for their prayer. The Muslim faith requires that people pray 5 times a day. In the Jewish faith, people pray 3 times a day. The Eastern Christian faith, they pray 5 times a day as well. So there are different faiths that have different requirements for prayer.
Sure.
So are you concerned at all that if they have the right to pray while they're on duty, that it will eat into the instructional time, which right now are limited to 45 minutes of instructional time periods? That's a concern that I have.
Senator, I'm not concerned about that. Again, this is a personal religious expression, a personal religious expression. So for that teacher to be praying there themselves or what have you, is what the court decision is all about, what Kennedy's about. I don't want to expand beyond that. Like I said, I want to stay in strong constitutional grounding. And I don't think that your concern is going to be one of any merit, to be candid, going forward. And let me say this, Senator. Look, if there are issues that we find that develop years down the road, well, look, we always try to work together on all kinds of policy, and we'll come back and have a conversation about it. But at this time, given the fact that the Kennedy decision, as I said earlier, is just 3 years old since Judge Gorsuch authored the majority opinion, I think it is appropriate for us to codify so that in our statutes so that the people of Texas know what we've done and have greater awareness. It's already the law of the land. We're just trying to make certain that more people have greater clarification as to what's taking place at the Supreme Court level.
So based on your testimony, your answer, teachers would be permitted to pray in front of their students anytime they want. That's what I understand.
Well, I'm saying, looking at what Kennedy has said, we know that they can pray, themselves there in the classroom. They can pray. And so just like Coach Kennedy could pray over his football players on the football field. So we know that a teacher can pray, yes. But beyond that, again, I want to stay on strong constitutional grounding. I'm not going to go and expand from Kennedy. I'm not going to contract from Kennedy. We're going to stay right there where it is, here in the middle.
So the bill, because you're saying we're going to write into state law, the school districts can't interfere with the teacher's right to pray. We're basically saying the state has said you can pray whenever you want in the classroom. Is that what you're telling us?
My perspective, again, I'm not going to speak for a judicial body, but we're going to stay focused here on the Kennedy decision. Okay. I don't want to get outside of that, Senator. All right. That'll be beyond your pay grade and mine.
And so our public schools are funded by both the state and the federal government currently, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
So they are. Then they're a government-funded entity, and so you have no. Well, what you're telling us is because of the constitutional decision of Kennedy, you're not concerned about the separation of church and state in our schools.
What I'm saying is we're going to stay focused on the decision that was made from the High Court, which is the law of the land.
Yeah.
We're simply codifying it in a statute. That's all we're doing, Senator Menendez.
I appreciate your answering my questions, and thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator Parker.